WFUZ-TV, Coastal Alabama, Northwest Florida, the People's Voice.
Hi, welcome to WFUZ-TV. I'm Blair Castro, and I'm here today with Thomas Jenkins. And we have a very special guest in the studio today, Mr. Ken McFeeters, who is running for Alabama governor. This is our first gubernatorial candidate here. We're very excited to have you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. It's wonderful to be here.
And we definitely want to start with the big question. Tell everybody why you decided to run for governor, and tell everybody who you're running against and what compelled you to jump into this race.
I'm running against Tommy Tuberville, and there's been so much happening. I ran for Congress 2 years ago against Gary Palmer, and I knew I wouldn't win, but I put $25,000 of my own money into the campaign. But I wanted to talk about stuff no one was talking about. Our government's not talking about it. Our politicians aren't talking about it. The news not talking about it. And then I figured I would be a whole lot more helpful, and I'm trying to win the governorship. I think I can. People are waking up, and Alabama needs to do some things that the politicians aren't doing. And there's some really bad people behind the scenes that control politicians, the media, education, our medicine, and people need to wake up. That's why I'm running.
I'd love to get into the meat and potatoes. Look, let's talk about Tuberville not voting to release the Epstein files. What's up with that, do you think?
And this is his second time with that. I wonder who he was really working for. He came out when they were protesting, not breaking any laws, but protesting against the war in Israel. He came out against them and said everyone who's protesting should be jailed. And I thought that was kind of odd. And then he's against the Epstein files being released. And all the Republican Party was, but it was all buried with the Charlie Kirk assassination or killing. And that blows my mind. I mean, it blows my mind. That tells me he's not working for the people. He's working for somebody else.
What would be the motivation to keep suppressing it at this point when the public keeps demanding it to the point where it's almost causing civil unrest among the entire population?
That's splitting the Republican Party in half, and they love dividing us. They divide us the left and the right, white, black, and now and with Charlie Kirk, and there's stuff coming out about it. Either you're going to believe the official story or you're not going to believe the official story. Yeah. And the same thing with the Epstein. It just divides it. But it's nonsense. I mean, Epstein was convicted in Florida of molesting 14-year-old girls, several of them, and he would Pam Bondi, who was our AG now, she was the AG of Florida at the time, and he went to, he could leave during the day, and he spent the nights there for a very short time, not, like a year and a half. He would spend the night in prison. If anyone watching this or anyone sitting here did that, we'd be in jail for the rest of our lives. Sure. And then everyone's like, there's nothing to see here. This is crazy. When in my opinion, it's a foreign government's blackmailing our politicians and our industrial leaders. I mean, that's the only thing I can figure out. I think a lot of people believe or are with me on that one. And it's idiotic. It tells you who he works for.
Sure. Can you give us some of the bullet points of the platform that you're running on?
The main thing is there are some people that are, and it goes back to 1913 where the United States Congress ceded its constitutional authority to coin money to the Federal Reserve, and they've been printing themselves money. Everyone says, well, we print money. No, we don't. Federal Reserve, it's a group of 7 men or 7 families that have been printing themselves money for over 100 years. They've taken that money and they bought everything. And they bought the media and they bought the politicians. And they're telling you at the World Economic Forum, it's the big guys around the world, that they want to reduce the world's population. And they control the media, they control the politicians, they control the power grid, they control just about everything. Alabama needs to be ready. There's a lot of people waking up, and when they do wake up, they're going to throw the ones that control everything are going to throw a temper tantrum. Alabama, if you're going to vote for a governor, needs to be prepared for when that happens. We have to be food independent. Alabama has to be able to feed itself. No ifs, ands, or buts. If we're going to survive, plan on the best, but hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. We have to be able to feed ourselves. Period. And that's number one. And education is number two. There are a lot of the people that have taken over the politicians and the media have also taken over education. And that one's an easy one. If I'm elected, when I'm elected governor, all we have to do is, I'm 65 years old. I've had a lifetime of business experience. I can't teach a class. A 22-year-old can come out of a Marxist-educated university program and teach our kids. That's idiotic. You need a fast, very inexpensive, this is crucial, this will change it in 1 year. We need a fast-track, inexpensive certification program to certify veterans. If you've had 8-10 years of military experience, fast track and be able to teach the Constitution. You can be able to teach Ben Franklin's 13 virtues. Virtues and values are the single number one thing if you want to live an successful life. Ben Franklin lived this program for most of his life. He did and he did it every single day. There's 13 virtues. And that's temperance, silence, order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, cleanliness, tranquility, chastity, and humility. And if you just took 2 of those and actually taught them to our students, frugality and industry, hard work and Satan, not spending a bunch of money, you're successful in life. And you put some money in the bank, you retire, and you can take care of your kids and educate your kids, and it's not that difficult. And I don't know why they're not teaching it. And they're not teaching the Constitution in our schools. Get the military, fast track them to teach our schools, hire them as teachers, and we can do that. $1,000 program to get them fast track teaching certificate, and they're teaching in 1 year, or in 6 months. In 1 year, we've got our schools back.
Would you imagine that to also include, since you're talking about fast tracking military to teach, would that be a part of a plan to arm teachers to fortify the safety of the schools?
I like guns. I've got one in my pocket right now. Guns don't kill people. Crazy people, and a lot of them are on the pharmaceutical drugs that are given by doctors. That's another thing. We got to take medicine back. It's idiotic. I've got a little lake place, and there's a little girl out there. She's 11 years old, and they've got her on amphetamines. I mean, she's 11 years old, and the doctor, she has to go see a doctor once a month. So the doctor gets paid once a month by the state. I think she's under all kids or whatever. And he's getting paid. Pharmaceutical companies are getting paid. And they're addicting her to amphetamines at 11. It's insanity. It's idiotic what our schools our schools teach 2 things. Compliance and memorization, and that's all the kids. They don't teach the values and virtues that Ben Franklin taught. That needs to be taught. Day one, that needs to be one. They don't teach everyone thinks we live in a democracy. We don't. We live in a constitutional republic. But our schools teach memorization and compliance. And if you succeed and if you thrive and excel in our educational system, what's your first thing you get to do? Become a doctor. Our doctors they take the leadership skills and out of our doctors. They're compliant, memorize it, and that's all they do. They do what they're told. They bet the last 5 years.
Funded research money, right?
Oh, right. Exactly. Right. They do what they're told. I absolutely hate it. But the last 5 years proves it. Docs, stand up, do something.
How would you compare Alabama to other states? Because obviously we are not ranked the best when it comes to education. And why do you think that is? And how would you implement a plan to improve that? Besides what you're talking about now with the fast tracking of the getting a higher or different kind of caliber of teacher, what other things can we do to improve Alabama's education rankings?
I think if you did that, actually taught the kids how to think. Our schools don't teach critical thinking skills. They teach memorization, and this is by design. And if you look at Google, Rockefeller, and the educational system, find out how and why it was taken over. You wanted complicit workers, not critical takers. If we, with this program, with the values and virtues and teach critical thinking, I mean, the companies from all over the world will fall over themselves coming here to hire our children and our workforce, because we'll have intelligent, that know the difference or know how to save money and work hard and be sincere and justice, moderation, and the discipline. We put some ex-military folks in the schools. We'll teach the kids discipline. Especially our inner city schools. It's insanity. And it can be fixed instantly. And I don't know why I do know why, but because they don't want it fixed.
We go back and forth about this a little bit. I don't like how quickly they're sticking screens and iPads in children's hands in order to get through school. Just her 11-year-old daughter just today was like, I want to use paper, but she has to do everything on an iPad that's issued by the school. And they're like forcing devices into kids' hands before maybe some parents don't even want to put them in their hands.
I was reading an article on some of the elites in Silicon Valley and their children at the private schools out there, and they don't use the electronic devices. And I don't think it's healthy for you. I don't like I don't like the electronic devices for kids at all.
I think there's a balance. You have to be able to keep up and you have to be able to be competitive, especially with AI and technology. But also, if you don't have the fundamentals, if you're too young, then really that's like farther down the line. I think that's when you're older. I will say that going back to comparing us to other states and other countries, what you mentioned with the discipline and having more of a culture that really prioritizes those virtues and values, there's other countries that do that. And I think they do that, which is, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're suggesting something that's been done in other cultures throughout history and in other places that has worked well. And even in the United States, that's why we have, different states have different cultures within them. And I think Alabama is kind of like in the back here when it comes to some of those values. And I just would like to see us be competitive instead of way down the tier.
100%. Your kids also need to have to learn the value of giving. Societies, churches, companies, everything. The more you give, the richer everybody becomes. I mean, if you look at a society, where there's a piece of trash on the street, someone picks it up, throws it in a trash can. There's societies where, if a package gets lost, someone will pick it up, take it a block, drop it, another person will pick it up, and it eventually gets to the person's house. The more you give, the richer everybody becomes. Everyone needs to understand that. That's taught in schools. And is not taught in schools, unfortunately, by design.
That's such an interesting point, because when you think about the poorest states in the country and where poverty is, and they say, well, I can't give because we don't really have anything. There seems to be a correlation between, kind of like a lot of government assistance and too much government overreach and not allowing people to kind of get off the government teat, I would say, in a way for them to be independent, to exercise that giving and to even understand it's there because they're constantly in a state of need.
Right. And if you look, I hate to say it, but if you look at the neighborhoods that are a lot of that aren't richer, they are poor, a lot of folks are selfish. They won't pick up the piece of trash sitting on the trash. They'll throw the piece of trash down. And that's exactly opposite of what you need to do to succeed in life, what you need to do for your neighborhood to succeed in life, for your kids to succeed in life. They don't need to see you throwing trash down. They need to see you picking up, helping society. 2 days ago, I was coming home from work at an intersection, and a pickup truck, it looks like, and with the big tire underneath it that's screwed on or whatever, it must have come loose as the big nut was sitting there and the tire was sitting in the middle of the intersection. 15 cars passed it, and I stopped, waved, stopped everyone, picked up the, loaded to the side of the intersection, got back in my car, drove off. That's what everyone needs to do. The more you give, the richer everybody becomes, and the safer it is. Now, don't do that if you're going to get run over. I had a friend of mine's brother that did that, helping someone out and still got hit by a car and killed. So be careful.
Going back to the food and making Alabama be able to feed itself, Alabama does have a lot of farms, and we do have a lot more agriculture here, I think, than some other places. How do you think we rank or compare elsewhere? Because the way it would be touted now is Alabama's doing great to feed itself. Alabama's farms are amazing. Alabama's like one of the biggest ag states in the country. So what would your response to that be, and how can there be room for improvement?
Most of ours are commodities, and the government, like everything else, has destroyed the small and family farms. My neighborhood, where I live, and most of the neighborhoods in the suburbs, they all are, that were farmlands, now they're subdivisions. It's not going to happen overnight. Didn't happen overnight, but we need to get a governor in there and get some folks in there that are going to help the small family farms. We have to bring food back to the people. I did an article on one of my newscasts a couple of weeks ago. It was a meat processing plant. It had some mouse droppings or whatever, and they closed the meat processing plant down. Local meat, grown by local folks, cut by local folks, eaten by local folks. Everybody knew what was in it, and the state of Alabama shut it down. And then those guys probably drove home, and these are the guys that are looking after our food. And then if you go to the grocery store, complete poison. I mean, everything almost, read an article today with RFK, and who's talking about the additives into our food system. They've changed it in a couple of prisons, and 100% suicide drop, or 100% suicide drop on the fights and interaction. It calms everybody down. They're putting bad things in our food, and our government's allowing it and shutting down healthy meat places. We have to do something.
I mean, you definitely hear anecdotal evidence of people going over to like Europe and Italy, places like that. They'll eat everything that they eat over here, but they lose weight as they do it because they don't have the same additives. But people who feel eat that they're so lie about it.
You're not bloated. I've been to Paris and Amsterdam, and I came back after 10 days. I won a trip in my business, and it's incredible. You feel good. And it's, we add all the stuff to the wheat. It's GMO wheat. I mean, it's not, everyone's, they're lactose intolerant, not lactose, gluten. And it's not the gluten. It's not the wheat. It's all the stuff.
Glyphosate and stuff that they're spraying on it.
Right. And then, guess who's putting it? The people that control are politicians, and they're the ones that destroyed the small and family farms. And it's all big ag with big chemicals, with big farming, and it's killing it. Look around you. Everybody's unhealthy, or majority of people are unhealthy. They're overweight. They can't breathe. They've got all kinds of allergies. It's insanity.
So would you be pro abolishing the FDA?
If this book, when I'm elected, every single kid in Alabama's got to read this every year. And I wish the politicians would read it too. It's rule of law, a nation of laws, not of men. And Tuberville said the other day, we've got to save the democracy. We don't have a democracy. Democracy is with mob rules. If you got 51%, they get to make the rules. That's not the way the United States was designed. We are a constitutional republic. And Ronald Bouchard wrote it. It's a fantastic book. Our governments, this is how we're going to save the United States and Alabama. Our constitutions are in place that the people gave to the government and gave the government their rules on what they can and cannot do. They can't do what they're doing. It's unconstitutional to do most of what they're doing. But, save the democracy, so it's the majority rules. No, government can't do what they're doing. Enumerate, or what is this? Right?
Enumerated powers.
Powers clause. It's very specifically states what the government can do. And if it's not in that, they can't do it. They do all kinds of things that they're not in that clause. They're way out of line. So Alabama, there's nothing we can do globally, unless our legislators in Washington, D.C. get the coining of money back from these families, 7 families that are doing it. There's nothing so we need to plan on protecting Alabama. Not in war with the rich guys in Alabama. We need the rich guys in Alabama to help get these things implemented. We need to get our kids educated. We need to get our kids healthy, and we need to be able to feed ourselves when something happens. They told us there's going to be a big power outage. There's going to be a food. They're telling us this. And now it's the latest thing, the World Economic Forum, one of the guys is on there saying they're going to get a tick-borne thing or make everybody allergic to meat. So
I've seen that.
I'll have to Google it. It's insane.
I've seen the Reset the Table by the Rockefellers.
I've seen that.
It has to do with food supply control and
Right.
beef, and
They're doing
go to alternatives to meat and lab-grown meat and things like that.
So the movers and shakers in Alabama, you got to help Alabama. These guys are not on our side. I mean, and they're, oh, I just want to be part of it. They're not helping us. They're not enriching us. They're keeping us unhealthy and poor. Let's help us.
Less condos, more cows, right?
Right.
So what do you think about today or yesterday, the news about RFK was saying that Tylenol in the Trump administration leads to autism? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't take a whole lot of pain medicine and try not to take a whole lot of medicine. Take something for my thyroid. But I try not to take a whole lot of pain medicine, and I don't like the acetaminophen and the others. I don't think it's good for you, but I think there's a lot more involved in autism than just Tylenol. I think if you turn this Charlie Kirk thing, it was entered into the congressional record was the Ford study that our lovely leaders in the Food and Drug Administration, all those folks, have been bearing it for 7 years. But it shows where they took, I think, 18,000 kids or something, and a bunch of them. But the unvaccinated kids were much, much, much healthier than the vaccinated kids. I think.
Are you talking exclusively of the most recent vaccine or the ones that they developed?
Vaccine schedules. This is like a 10-year study or whatnot they got to. The Ford study, let's see. The unvaccinated kids were much healthier, and the asthma, the vaccinated kids were 329% more likely to develop asthma. Autoimmune, 496% autoimmune diseases. ATOPIC, 203%. Neurodevelopment, 453%. At 10 years old, they studied these kids up till 10, 43% of the vaccinated kids were free of chronic illnesses. Only 43%, so 67% were, or 57% were had chronic illnesses at 10 years old, compared to 83% were completely chronic illness free that were unvaccinated. And then, and my gosh, Scott Harris, after what he's done to Alabama for the last 5 years, he meets charges against humanity. He's our chief medical doctor, whatever you call him for Alabama. And that guy needs to go. And when elected, I'll do everything in my power to get rid of him on day one. My number one priority. He is, don't like that guy at all.
What has he done that's most egregious, would you say?
Back when he was, when the COVID all hit, and I went and they were throwing out the numbers. Of course, I don't believe anything the media says. That's another thing. I talked to some ladies like, do you believe the media? Or do y'all believe the media? I don't know anyone that does. Do y'all believe politicians? I don't know of anyone that does. And yet, if you look at the statistics, no one believes them. But Tuberville is supported by the media 100%, not 99%, 100%. They won't even report of what I'm talking about. And all the politicians have all endorsed Tuberville. All of them. And you can't, it's mind-boggling. What was I talking about?
We were talking about the Surgeon General of Alabama.
Oh, right. So back when the COVID stuff, when they said everyone, the hospitals are full. Well, I drove around all the hospitals. They're all empty. And then they told us all these people are dying. Well, I went to a county commissioner, a friend of mine, and I asked him if he could get me the numbers on the deaths in Jefferson County. And he couldn't. He said, well, this 2 years or 3 years before we're working on, 2 years ago, we're not even near. This year, we've changed systems, so we can't tell you. And then Scott Harris was being interviewed on a radio show, and I knew the talk show host, and I was texting him questions. I'm asking him how many people have died. And he took the normal people the normal number of people in Alabama that normally die, because that went through all the numbers, and then he doubled it. He said, well, we're adding all these COVID-19s on top. He doubled the number of deaths on the radio in the middle of the pandemic to scare the hell out of people. That's wrong. And I was texting him and just that it buried him, and he buried himself. And it's like, where the hell did he get these numbers too? He didn't get the Jefferson County, and they could not give them to him. And he doubled the number of deaths on the radio show in the largest city in Alabama. The guy needs to go. He's a menace to society.
My biggest fear about Tuberville running is that Alabama is so consumed by football culture that they're just automatically, oh, well, he coached football, he's going to be a great governor.
A friend of mine and I were talking about it's sports does not build character. Sports reveals character. And if you look at Tuberville's career in sports, when he left Mississippi, they told him 2 days before or 2 or 3 days before he left, he goes, they'll have to carry me out in a pine box. Well, he quit, never said goodbye to his players, never said goodbye to his assistant coaches, and then went to Auburn. And then he lost his job at Auburn. They didn't trust him enough to run even the football program of Auburn, and even paid him $6 million to leave, just to get out of there.
Or somebody would pay $6 million to leave.
No doubt. So to top from Mississippi, no doubt. That's his job to children. Do a really bad job so they'll pay you to leave.
Right.
I mean, that's who you're voting for. That's who the media is telling you to vote for, and that's who politicians are telling you to vote for, because they can control them. But then he went to Texas Tech I didn't think he could outdo leading without saying goodbye to your players and coaches. He was at Texas Tech, and he was at dinner, and this is a recruit in the newspaper saying we were at dinner with him, and he excused himself before dinner was served, went to the restroom, left, never went back to the table. He was with recruits and the assistant coaches, and the players said, well, they brought all the food out. It was like, where's coach? They brought a steak out or whatever it was eating, and he's gone. Next day, he takes a job at Cincinnati. And this is character, people. Who does that? Who does that?
Lots of people on the first date sometimes. Just
I got, catfished? Is that the word for it? Ghost? No, you're talking about as a first date. I went out on a first date on another.
Not what you think.
Oh my gosh, she lied big time. But hey, I had a nice meal. We had a good conversation. But she lied, and these pictures were it was not what I was expecting.
Too many filters.
Oh, it was worse. It was like a line. I was still, I finished it. I had a good time doing anything.
So let's talk about Meemaw Kay. Let's talk about Kay Ivey. What are your thoughts on the current governor and their administration and how she's doing, besides some of the things you've already mentioned? But what would you like to see change the most? I'm sure there's lots of things, but what are the things that stick out as in, wow, we can't keep going in this direction?
Kay Ivey's a nice lady. She should not have been reelected. She should not have run for reelection, but they got her reelected. And I know people that know her, and she doesn't recognize them anymore. And but one thing I will say, when I'm elected, she can live out her days in the governor's mansion. And I'm a single guy. I'll live in a couple rooms with her. She can live out her days in the governor's mansion, because where's she going to go? An old folks home or something. But I've always liked her, and she's a witty, fun lady. With no step too high for a high stepper. I always liked her. I wish, some of the establishment. Every industry. If you have a job, you have an industry. Well, your industry has an association. Your associations hire lobbyists in Montgomery to protect your interests, to protect your livelihood. That's important. That's our political process. There's a couple of them down there that have way too much power, but for the most part, the system works. That's how I got involved in politics, through my industry. I got involved down in Montgomery about 25 years ago in my industry, trying to protect my industries, because Don Siegelman did something really bad to my industry and hurt my business. So I got involved on the legislative committee for my industry. And I know how the political process works, and it does work, but we got we got railroaded and steamrolled by the big pat. There's a couple of folks that need to step back a tad and do what's best for Alabama. I'm asking you, please do that.
Speaking of lobbyists and different groups, what do you think about her THC ban that took away like the vape shops and stuff throughout the state?
Oh, I took a trip up to Michigan, and I took my RV and I got a little scooter on the back as a motorcycle, 150cc kind of motorcycle, whatever. And I was at the campground, took the motorcycle off, went to a weed shop on my motorcycle to see what it was about with no helmet on. And I drove up, and it's not a bunch of kids up there. It's a bunch of old dudes that are trying to smoke. They're smoking pot. They're going to get shot anyhow. It's not what you think it is. And I mean, it was comical. I was like, this is what freedom's like. And that's another thing. I'm going to go over the helmet laws in Alabama on motorcycles. I always love motorcycles, and I always wear all the gear. I've done cross-country trips on motorcycles, covered head to toe in gear. I mean, I can take a slide out 100 miles an hour if I don't hit anything on fun. But if I want to go to the grocery store on my scooter, I don't want to wear a helmet. No, you should, but I want to be able to be free. And if I want to go up there, I don't like what it does to me. But if you want to go up there and you get to buy pot, read the rule of law. They don't have the right to do this. They don't. The deal the people made with our government did not give them the right to do this.
I really feel the same in that prohibition didn't work. It doesn't work to ban a certain caliber weapon. Why would it work to ban marijuana or THC in such a way? Because you're just kind of creating an underground culture for it. And
Yeah, just black market.
being able to regulate it or tax it or like make people, be out in the open, you're just creating this underground culture. And I don't see the effectiveness of that so much.
And making some folks a whole lot of money that are in control of everybody. And that's not, those guys never get busted.
And further pads the pharmaceutical industry, because when people choose cannabis as a alternative method for chemotherapy, for anything else they might be going through medicinally, they can't even really access that in some states. And right now, our state is definitely on the overregulation side, in my opinion, compared to Florida or other states nearby. I didn't like to see that at all. I was not happy with her ruling on that.
I 100% agree. Trying to find something from our Constitution that says, because I want to read it exactly, and it's in that book, what it says exactly. I know we can't find it, but it's in our Alabama's Constitution. It tells exactly what the government can and cannot do, and it tells you the only thing the government's supposed to do is to help us enjoy our freedoms. Not all the nonsense that it does. And guy talks about here, it's like with a license. If it's legal, and with the rule of law, that's divine, the rule of law, that's not made by men, that's made by God. If it's legal, you don't need a license. And if it's not legal, a license is not going to make it legal. But I wish I had that quote, because it's a great quote. I will read some of the things on our founding fathers. Everyone says, like, save our democracy. Our founding fathers hated democracy, not just a little bit, hated it. Let's see. I mean, even though I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, not democracy. John Adams wrote, "We are a nation of laws, not of men." And that's the perfect distinction between the constitutional republic and a democracy. The law is not men. Ben Franklin said, "We have a republic if you can keep it," when asked what kind of government we can have. What's prepared? Disappeared. Look them up. Seriously, it's unbelievable how bad all our founding fathers hated democracy. Oh, here we go. John Quincy Adams wrote, "The experience of all former ages has shown that of all human governments, democracy, say the democracy, which Tuberville said in a national magazine, was the most unstable, fluctuating and short-lived. Let's see. Thomas Jefferson. A democracy is nothing more than mob rule. This is Thomas Jefferson. A democracy is nothing more than mob rule where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49%. That's what we're experiencing right now. The only way to get our government back is the rule of law and hold our politicians accountable to the constitutions. And it'll solve everything.
I agree with you that people are constantly doing unconstitutional things, and it kind of goes under the radar a lot, even locally on a city level. I just ran for city council, and I dug into city ordinances and whatnot, and I've had experience drafting county and city code and ordinances, and I see them constantly being proposed that are just extremely unconstitutional in their government overreach, and they don't actually have a lot of experienced attorneys giving feedback, and they don't take public input a lot, and they just pass things. And we've even been told by our local government, like, well, we'll tweak it as we go. Like, it's okay if it's unconstitutional and you bring that to our attention, and somebody will challenge it and we'll just fix it later. Like, no, that shouldn't be the process. It shouldn't be to just wait to go to court. It should be this doesn't happen if it's not constitutional, and you should have practice ahead of time.
Right, good for you.
And I'd like to see, talking about the acronyms here, the IRS, the FCC, like all of these executive agencies are essentially violating the Constitution in some ways because they are overreaching and performing the roles of the judiciary and the legislative and the executive. Like, they're doing all of it at once when they're supposed to be under the executive branch, but they become their own entities in a lot of ways. And I think people aren't aware of what all goes on with these acronym agencies, and they just think, oh, it's the executive branch, they're enforcing it, it's their own thing. But really, it's strange if you pay attention to those. I'd be okay with abolishing quite a few of those.
Oh, now the IRS was started just, coincidentally, of course, this is just a coincidence, the same year, 1913, that our legislators up in, I think they did on Christmas, there was some shenanigans going on there, but when they passed the Federal Reserve, when they passed the Federal Reserve, the IRS, it was the first time we've had an income tax. Lincoln had one to pay off for the Civil War, but then it went away, and then they did the Federal Reserve, but everybody in debt, and the IRS came in to take all our money to pay these guys. If people actually realize how simple and idiotic and corrupt the system is, seven families, when the United States needs to borrow money, that's the key. When the United States needs to borrow, we have to be in debt. They get to print themselves money. When we go to war, when we have open social entitlement programs, and we have immigration, they all create debt. When it creates debt, these families print. So we go to war. We spent, how many hundreds of billions of dollars in Ukraine. Overnight, if there's seven, we get four more people, put the United States at war, borrow 100, borrow 200, or they go to $200 billion. Overnight, the seven of us print $200 billion and load it to the United States at interest. We're $200 billion richer overnight plus interest. That's it. That's the way it works. It's that simple. And now, Blackstreet, State Street, BlackRock, and Vanguard, three companies own controlling interest in 95% of the S&P 500 are publicly traded companies. They own controlling interest, which means you own the company. You get to decide who the president is and the board of directors. And where are you getting the money? And they also are about to own 60% of all single-family homes in the United States. That's why your kids can't afford a house. Where do three companies, which is really one company because they own each other's stock, where does one company get the unbelievable amount of money to buy all the hard assets in the richest country in world history? They print it. Our U.S. Congress ceded its authority, and the Constitution doesn't say they can do that. They can't, but they did it. And you act like that, but not a lot we can do with that from Alabama. We can do is we can feed ourselves and make sure we're going to feed ourselves because something's going to happen with this. It's not sustainable. And when it happens, we better be prepared, or a lot of folks are going to get hurt. A lot of people are going to die if we're not prepared. If we can't feed ourselves, if we can't educate our kids, and we get our medicine back, get our people healthy, and it has to happen. Both for someone that can actually see what's going on. I mean, but Tuberville didn't know the three branches of government, and he thinks we're a democracy.
Yeah. Do you ever see us returning to the gold standard?
I think our legislature just passed the states can trade in gold. And I think our legislature did something this past session where if something does happen to our currency, we can trade in gold. So the legislature, there's things happening. We need to get a governor in charge that can help that to go a little faster.
Yeah, that was scary when I saw that it hit historical highs, that that the economy is not doing well, which, that was Trump's entire platform, was he was going to bring back the Trump economy of 2016 and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, cool, make it happen. And now it seems like it's worse than, it seems like 2008 all over again almost.
Be prepared. We got to feed ourselves, and everyone. If you're rich, sometimes big cycles go up and down. But I've lived through a bunch. When we started our business, I was 21 years old, and probably the absolute worst time. I mean, I think the interest rates on homeowners buying a home was like 13 or 14%. It was unbelievable, the amount of inflation. And no, everyone said, "Don't start a business, don't start." And we've had a family business for 44, 45 years. So it's. There's not a lot you could do, but as a state, we have to be able to plan if they do a little temper tantrum. We need to feed ourselves and take our education back. And they don't have the right, the governors don't have the right to do what they're doing with our education. I mean, all our teachers, by law, have to have teaching degrees from Marxist-controlled universities, and then they teach our kids. It's like, the blacks, younger black people I've worked in Bessemer, that's where my office is. We've had 3 offices. And there's such a disparity that Marxists like to divide everybody by race, by gender, by class. They do it by everything. They convince the younger white folks that white people just hate them and they're being, and I don't understand that, but there's more hate that I've seen in the younger folks because of the Marxist educators that are educating them than they are the older folks. Most people, they love each other, and that we better come together, folks. They want us divided. Blacks and whites, rich and poor, Democrats and Republicans need to come together in Alabama and help each other. And the more we give, the more we help, the richer Alabama will become. That's the way it works. Don't be divided. Divided, they get to keep doing what they're doing. They keep our focus divided, or our focus, our attention, onto something else, like the Charlie Kirk thing. It's a tragedy, but the media blitz this is doing, it's insanity, and we're not paying attention to what really matters.
Tale as old as time, divide and conquer, and they've been. Right. I think we're more divided now than ever, given recent events, or at least the modern day. It's
our educators are doing it.
Oh, education-wise, actually in Florida, Ron DeSantis passed a law that made it sort of a fast track, like you were talking about, a little different. I don't think they needed even a certification. I think they were able to begin teaching if they had 10 years of military experience or something like that. Or if they were a military I forgot the exact verbiage of the law, but it was similar to that. So Florida did pass something like that pretty recently, within the past 2 to 4 years.
You stole my idea.
Yeah.
Florida, exactly education these days.
Above Alabama.
Yeah.
Right.
So is Mississippi, for the record, top 16.
We can turn that around like that. If we get some folks in there and teaching the values and virtues and discipline, and we can turn that away, and the Constitution telling them they can't do what they're doing, we can turn that around, in real quick. And the Republicans there, the Republicans and Democrats on the national basis, they're not on the people's side, unfortunately. And you can't blame the politicians either. And Alexis D. Tocqueville, He wrote Democracy in America, and every president since the 1800s has quoted him. Brilliant book, not an easy read, brilliant book. And he stated in his book, and back when America was becoming great, and he stated this, and it really hit home to me because we're not doing it right now. We need to get back to it. He said, in America, if you are rich or moneyed, not only does it not help you get elected, it's a detriment to being elected. Right now, all our politicians can't get elected unless you are the folks that are doing it. The voters are the ones that are doing it. Only vote for the money candidates. You're only voting for the ones that the media is supporting. You're only voting for the ones that other politicians are supporting. And the folks down in Montgomery and D.C. that control the money, they make sure you will only vote for the money candidates with the big slick programs. Tuberville is raised more money than any other politician in Alabama's history. Alabama is known politically as one of the most corrupt states in Alabama history, and he's raised more money than any other politician in Alabama's corrupt history. Why? You got to stop voting for the money candidates. And they know that in Montgomery because, I've worked with the legislatures and we've tried to take on some of the bigger guys, and it's like, well, I can't do that. Not because I don't get money from them. I know if I do this, they'll primary me, get somebody else to run against me, and I'll lose my job. You can't vote for the money. If you see a big, slick program, big, slick advertising program, run, vote for the other guy. That's what you need to do with Tuberville. He is the epitome of what's wrong with politics.
So
then he'll even live in Alabama.
That's true. He lives in Florida.
Right.
But pivoting to you in particular, what qualification do you think will make your run for governor succeed? Why should we vote for you? And had you know any of the other people running? I'm familiar with 3 total. What are your thoughts on the other candidates, and why do you think you're the best choice?
Some of the Democratic candidates.
I know one Democrat that's running. Of one, I don't know him personally. But yeah, out of everybody,
I think only 2 Republicans, Tommy Tuberville and I, are the only ones running.
Okay.
On the Republican side, I know that there may be one independent and then a couple of Democrats, and the former Senator Doug Jones. I think he's going back and forth, and he thinks, and this is another thing, the Tuberville, and this is coming out of from the rumors I've heard out of his program or whatever. They're saying he's going to use half the money that he's raising to prove he lives in Alabama. And again, he's going to use lawyers to say, nope, I'm legally living in Alabama, even though when he flies home from D.C., flies to his beach house. That's also, if you didn't have a job and you had a $5 million house in Santa Rosa Beach, and you had a son that owned a house in Auburn, $300,000 house in Auburn, or a $5 million pad at the beach, where would you live? Lawyers are going to convince you he's living in the $300,000 house. He's using half of the money. I've been told they're allocating half the money that he's raising to fight that. Doug Jones has got supposedly, and the Democrats, once the primary closes, and then once it's over, once the primary closes, I can petition the Alabama Republican Party Steering Committee and put a challenge into his residency. And I've already been told by the powers that be they don't think they're going to question. They think, well, it's good. We're not going to kick him off the ticket once it's closed. The Alabama Republican Party can kick him off the ticket, and whoever's standing, that's going to be the person that runs. Then everybody else that is running will go into the primary, and whoever wins that goes on to up against the Democrat. The Democrats, Doug Jones is not going to challenge him until that happens. If the Republican Party doesn't kick him off the ticket for his lack of presidency, he will become the candidate. Then Doug Jones is going to go to court and challenge it in court. And there's all kinds, when he goes and charges his reimbursement for his travel expenses to the U.S. Senate, senators and congressmen get to do that. it's all from Florida. It's not from Alabama. All is like as flights go to Florida, as taxis and as transport, it's all from Florida. So they've got the information to do that. And you know, from what I've heard, they're going to spend half the money they're raising to prove that's not true. Well, if he wins, Doug Jones wins in court, Tuberville's got to come off the ticket. Then and I'm trying to get the bylaws changed. Then guess who gets to pick the Republican candidate? Just like Kamala Harris. The Alabama Republican Party Steering Committee is going to pick your next governor, because on a statewide level, more than likely, I mean, unless something really crazy happens, like when Doug Jones won the Senate, more than likely the Republicans are going to win. So either way, the Alabama Republican Party is going to be, they like Tuberville, and if he gets kicked off because he doesn't, and they don't kick him off, but the courts kick him off because he doesn't live in Alabama, the Constitution says he has to live in Alabama, and they kick him off, they get to pick the next governor, and probably will age work. You know, that's interesting. That's my opinion. That's you know, I don't know that for a fact. I mean, as far as their selection, but I would assume that would be the guy. Ken was a good guy.
What would you like to tell people about your background and skills and why you would be the best choice?
I'm unbelievably hard-headed and unbelievably honest, and everyone that knows me knows that. And that's not always a good thing in politics, but we need someone like that in government. I've worked, like I said, in my industry. I've worked with the state legislature for 25 years. I know how it works, and I want to get everybody to come together. I want the Republicans, the Democrats, the blacks, the whites, the rich, the poor, and we need the movers and shakers in Alabama to be able to make sure Alabama can feed itself. We need to get. It's got to get local. I mean, it's not even like, you know, everyone in the past. We don't want Washington, D.C. to have all this power. We don't want Washington, D.C. It's past Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is bought, sold. It's international. After 5 years, we just had a global response that was the horrific global response to a virus. We had, you know, faulty drugs. We were getting faulty drugs. Good, treatable treatments were suppressed so they could give us the faulty vaccines. My sister got microplots. I know several people that died from it, several people that are sick from it, several people with memory problems from it. It was horrific. That was done on a global basis. And all our politicians, lockstep, every single one of them, from our senators, our congressmen, our governor, every one of them, our state health officer. I mean, and like I said, I want him to be brought up on charges of crimes against humanity. No one stopped it. And you know, the World Economic Forum, and they'll tell you, if you go to the World Economic Forum, they want to reduce the world's population. They tell you that's one of their goals. And Bill Gates wants to do that, and he's in charge. You know, arguably, the Politico magazine called him the most powerful doctor in the world. He, in 2010, 10 years before the pandemic, he pledged $10 billion and called for a decade of vaccine at the World Economic Forum. Called for a decade of vaccine and pledged $10 billion of his own dollars. 3 years later, at the World Health Organization, he spoke. This software engineer spoke at the World Health Organization, and he said to 183 member nations, you must make vaccines a part of a priority in your healthcare systems, including the new emerging vaccine technologies. And they did. They gave them a standing ovation. Folks, we got to take care of each other in Alabama. They're crazy.
Don't forget Fauci signed off on a study that killed puppies.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't even want to. If I had him in the dark corner, he would not. I mean, it's the new. I don't believe in violence.
What do you think about some of these Republican leaders flip-flopping, like throughout the COVID process? Because at the beginning, they were very pushing mandates and pushing vaccines. A lot of them were. And then now they're like, no, I didn't say that. No, it wasn't me. I didn't do that. Why do you think they either came around or decided to flip-flop?
I mean, I don't think a lot of them have. I mean, if they would, they're not talking. I brought it. I was talking about it 2 years ago when I was running for Congress. No one else is talking about it. I mean, they're going to do with what they have to do to stay elected. And if you go against the machine, and it wouldn't be refreshing to have someone that actually is going to tell the truth and not someone that's controlled. Try to do what's best for Alabama. Try to bring all Alabamians together. I mean, and Tuberville's, he's talking about the Democrats were the reason Charlie Kirk got shot. It's like, I mean, there's rhetoric, but they use that to divide us. He's part of the problem. They divide us. We don't need to be divided. Alabama needs to take care of Alabama. And then, in Jefferson County, Baldwin County, you guys have done some great things down here, by the way. I mean, that's another thing with Jonathan Gray. Y'all had an article, and the folks down in Baldwin County are kicking it. I mean, it's totally impressive, these folks. And, taking on the school board and got some articles written with 1 million views, and then they fired the girl that wrote the article and then Amanda, and then took down her article or whatever, and then 2 folks had to resign, and then and my next door neighbor is the superintendent of the school system in where I live, and I asked him, I said, "Do you have a PR guy that you're paying almost $10,000 a month out of your slush fund?" He looked at me like I was crazy. Right. Well, this guy is getting like almost $10,000 a month from the Baldwin County school system. So correct me if I'm wrong. And then it was brought up, and then he resigned along with the CFO. And Tuberville has his campaign advisor, and he's getting paid $6,000 or $7,000 a month by the Tuberville program. That's who you're going to vote for, and the media is not going to tell you this. It's like, and if the media likes him, don't vote for him. All the other politicians that like him, don't vote for him. I mean, but it's amazing what they've done down here. It really is. They're kicking it down here.
I like it. I moved here from Pensacola, and I never thought I would ever want to live in Alabama, but it has been a pleasant surprise.
I live right across the street from a canal. It's nice.
Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I drove an RV down. Let's spend the night on the way back and drive back and be at work tomorrow morning at 9. Because I live in just south of Birmingham and Pelham, and then drove by RV down and go spend like I said. It's nice having an RV. Got a shower, bathroom, and then I have a rest area.
That's a nice looking RV too.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming here today and driving all that way. It is really says a lot about your character that you care enough to come talk to voters down here in South Alabama on the coast, and that you care to share your platform with us on our podcast. I really, really appreciate it, and we're so glad you made it here today. Thank you.
Be sure and tell everybody where they can check out your platform and read more about what you're doing.
The website should be up and running. It was all going to be Ken for Gov, Ken the number 4 Gov, and it should be up and running in about 2 weeks. And there's going to be some stickers on my RV that's Ken for Gov. And I also bought a little campaign car. I got a 12 or 13-year-old Ford Focus, and I bought from an old lady. It's 30,000 miles, a 13-year-old car. It's great gas miles, keeps the miles off my truck.
Yes.